Blue UK Jazz Dance, part of my legacy as a father. I train my son in drumming. Boom, I train my son, here I am. And I've got tapes of me working with my son to encourage his communication. I use drumming to develop him. I've got a really good tape. And you can see his focus in his face. And see the focus of his father. Good. Now look again. Right, this is me, Blue UK Jazz Dance. The arts, our cultural arts, boom, focused us. They made us attentive. Look at me. Do I look attentive there? Do I look attentive there? They made us happy. They made us feel good about ourselves. And I was the only individual in Manchester that joined every Afro-Cubist. This is one of the Afro-Cubists. His name's Kwasi Asare, the late Kwasi Asare. And Kwasi Asare was a founder of a Ghanaian percussion group, Kantamanto. Was born in Ghana, and a traditional family of music was much part of his early life. He made his way to England in the late 50s. During the 1970s, Kwasi was appalled by the plight of his people in England, especially the unemployed youth, and became deeply involved in the revival of roots music in England. And he brought it into the African Caribbean community to promote African culture and to preserve his African personality. In 1992, since then, the group has played at the Royal Festival Hall, Amida Theatre, the Arnold Feeney, Bristol, with the International Jazz Festival in Hayfield, etc. Kwasi has played and taught drumming in America, played with jazz giants such as Duke Ellington, Count Basie, Thelonious Monk, Sarah Vaughan, and has been awarded the title of Culture Ambassador by the Philadelphia Tribune. I was the administrator for this man's group, Kantamanto, yeah? Here it is, that's Kantamanto. I was the administrator. And I was the administrator that took us, yeah, to the Arnold Feeney. Arnold Feeney, these places are the most established musical places in the whole of Britain. I was the administrator and the lead dancer and the lead drummer and lead educationalist. I brought something special to that group, under Kwasi's leadership, because I'd come from a home where culture was put at the center of everything you do. Yeah, cultural pride, cultural values, culture ambassadorship. When we walked out from our home, I'm supposed to be representing my Grenadian mother and my Jamaican father. Has everybody got that? And it was important for me to pass on this culture to my son. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. So when my son came in 1985, I joined the group in 84. This is my son in 1985. And this is me not later on. Much later on. I had my son in 1985, but much later on, this is him. Look at his focus. Boom. And this is me. Boom. Department was very important in my whole family. Jazz, for me, gave me an identity. An important identity. Because what it did, it fitted in my Jamaican culture, my Grenadian culture. So you had jazz musicians from Grenada, jazz musicians from Jamaica. Do you know what I'm saying? And I could make a connection. Because we were lost. We didn't have no teachers, no books telling you about what Jamaicans done and Grenadians done. No books. We were told that we didn't do anything. So it's important people understand. You know what I'm saying? So culture and jazz came together. Why? These two are important pictures. Because what happened, the last stage of jazz, they went to spirituality. Jazz looked back to the African. Do you understand? So I started to study the modern musicians knew that they'd been miseducated and they lost the African rhythms in America because of because of banning the drum. What happened? Africans, Caribbeans brought back the drumming in Congo Square. They brought back the drumming, and it was condensed with different African rhythms. And then the Africans started to bring back their culture into America. They came in the 50s with the traditional, but they had Africans in the UK who were doing a great job, which was Kwasi Asare, my teacher. Thomas Olajide Ojueso was my teacher, and he was one of the individuals. He was born in 1888, Kwasi Asare. Do you know what I'm saying? And he was helping people out. Then you had a woman that was here, yeah, Anna Agre, and she was she was doing textiles. She had a PhD in textiles, and I did a project with her. Dr. Anna Agre is her name. And what I did drumming with the kids. Can you see that there? So now you see the relationship, you see the drumming? Boom. And there's me. Boom. there's me with my son, and now this is me. That's the development. Okay, let me turn over, and there's Blue doing a project to do with kente cloth. Don't mess about. In Ghana, they were weaving cloth, etc., etc. And there's me, boom, boom, in the project. This is me, boom, boom, and there I'm drumming on a Ghanaian project. The idea was to show young people how to weave rhythms, yeah, and show the relationship between the drumming and the dancing. Yeah, boom, there's me. Can you see? Pull it back. There's Blue. That's my history. History that's been ignored, history that's been trying to be hidden in London. Boom, boom, but I refuse to allow it to be living, because my parents came here and told me, you have a legacy. Make sure your child, make sure, who's my child? This is my child. My child should know the dad's legacy, so he can pass it on to his son. He should know, my child should know his dad's legacy. How did I get involved in drumming? It all happened from being involved in jazz dancing. Because when we got to modern music, they were talking about, we've got to find our cultural and heritage roots. Do you understand? Then I started to get involved in projects. The dance led to many, many leadership roles in fashion, talking. So I roll over here, boom, here's Blue. Because what happened, I was the first individual to start archiving and start to put information that was scattered together. So this is me doing a talk on Master Juba in town. Talks. Can you see that? This is me. I put this information together, and this is a good picture of me disseminating that information to a group. Boom. It all came from me being involved in jazz, yeah, and it came from me having a positive mindset of myself. Yes, we can be grassroots leaders of UK jazz dance. Because what happened, we were looking to establish dance organisations to talk on our art form. They cannot talk on our art form. Our art form is a social, freestyle, freeform art form that developed in the slums. Do you understand? And spread out till it came onto the established stage. Here's Blue. Boom. 2000. This is about 2010, 2011. Me at the Turner Festival. Then this picture was used for the most exceptional, outstanding telepresence project. Well, actually, was the first of its kind between New York dancers and Manchester, the Contact Theatre and Culture Hub working together. Boom. And this is me. I've come back, and I came back to Manchester after being at university doing arts administration, management and business management, because the industry has gone business orientated, and for you to compete in that industry, bring in your culture, you have to know knowledge. So this is my new saying, it's part of my campaign. Our history is not true history until we celebrate it in its true context, to its period, share its true significance. Why? Because nothing but fabrications has been spoken of UK club jazz dancing and jazz in general. No one knows the history of jazz in Britain. Nobody. Because the Moors have been kept out of it. Blacks being here before the 50s have been kept out of it. Do you understand? No one knows about the true information about the 50s. 1945, you had the Pan-African Congress movement. From there, Kwame Nkrumah was at Manchester University. Boom, boom. Jomo Kenyatta, the first two presidents. The best ever Pan-African Congress movement happened in 1945 in Britain. You need to understand that changed the world in where Manchester, a social city known as a city first, that was the best and first best ever conference that had. Why? Because it was a city that attracted academics already, and it was just after the war, so the timing proved right, because the city was known as a social freeform city, as a freeform city. So everybody flocked here because they recognized that the city itself had people in it who recognized that things needed to be reformed, and they had reformers here that flocked here. Do you understand? But people don't know about that. It's important for people to have an understanding of it, have an understanding of how, boom, how the Nicholas brothers were here in the 1930s. All the best musicians and dancers around the world came to Manchester at some point, and it's not been acknowledged. They've been in Manchester. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Boom, these guys influenced me. Boom, they influenced my dress, as well as a guy called John Bubbles. Cause I saw a film called Cabin in the Sky. That film itself, anyway, in general, was the first all-black film I saw. It's not a positive film in the sense of black characters, but what happens is it seeps through, because what we took from it was the whole thing of crisp, This is Stormy Weather. This is me. Boom. And I'm showing the links. I'm at university now. I'm showing the links between jazz. Vintage. Jazz vintage stands for something. It's a value, it's an attitude, it's behavior, it's a quality, competence and trait. Do you understand? Boom. And it influenced me in a very, very big way. Yeah? It influenced my whole life. The study of jazz, because I studied jazz inside out, back to front, and I'm still studying it. And I found out, boom, I have to set up my own project called Rebirth of the Cool. And Rebirth of the Cool, boom, is a project talking about UK jazz dance, how it came about. Boom. Very much from the soul clubs, yeah, from R&B. So music, what we had here is blues dancing. It started from R&B because 1950 was a big movement in dance because Lindy Hop had been lost as a major scale. Pop music came in, rock and roll, but the next music for dance was R&B. Do you know what I'm saying? On a big way, and it started, and that led to soul music. So soul is a big part of UK jazz dance development, especially in the north of England. That led to my soul jazz dancing. Boom, Rastafari, dreads. Boom, boom. This is an important element. Dreadster, Rastafari, dreads. People involved in Rastafari movement had a big part to play in the development, because where we first started to hear the soul, yes, in your homes, but there were sound systems. When we had our cultural centres, they had sound system setups. Didn't have Western all this PA equipment. The PA equipment was a sound system. So that's what we saw first from the day one. They played soul, they played reggae. Basically, they played intergenerational music in our cultural centres. That's what happened. Has everybody got that? Boom. And what happened, there was a big movement in the Rastafari movement that led to drumming. And people passed the drumming onto the children. Boom, boom. In the culture was the dress. Rastaman dressed in Sticksman clothes. They related. You look at the old Blue Beat clothes, is jazz. The old Clipsonian clothes is jazz flavoured. That's where they come from. You hear the old Clipso, it's jazz. And the whole Clipsonians were looking at Bossa Nova and all that type of music. People knew in the Caribbean about Latin American music. Do you understand? And they were playing it. Yeah? So this is me. Yes, you can. Boom, going down. Just giving you an indication again. That's my son. This is me. What led me to be involved in drumming was this. Do you know what I'm saying? And the dance, when you start to study jazz, you start to look at everything. You looked at it socially, physically, intellectually, culturally, emotionally, spiritually, politically, economically, technologically, environmentally, legally. You looked into the business. When I started to look into business, it's a horrible. When you look into the business of UK club jazz dance, basically it was black music, white business, and they ripped us off in an amazing scale. The modern jazz musicians had a horrible time, and people's families have still not been paid the royalties from a lot of the companies. And part of my work, I'm coming back to identify, guess what, who's living that sort of life right now of the modern jazz musician as a dancer, Blue is, because I'm being blocked by the #1 DJ, his organisation and various organisations to come into the field as doing my own projects. And it's been strategic. It's not been boom. I went to work alongside them. Instead of saying they're not going to work with me, they worked alongside me and took my fashion. I identified to them and doing a fashion project. A long time when I first met them, straight away, I initiated a project where they can take photographs of me in the club, because I wanted to get uncontrived photographs of me dancing. You can use them for your marketing. I have a problem with that. What I'm going to do, I want to use them for my exhibition. You come in on an event, do an event there, maybe a night, whatever, boom, boom, because I'm interested in promoting soul jazz as the last soul jazz and Latin jazz guy, yeah, who's moved on to new jazz, yeah, deep soul house. The deep soul house is like the old soul jazz music, but moved on in its new development. What happened to me? I'm being blocked locally, regionally, nationally, internationally, because what's happened, people from the north and south have hooked up to box off the industry of UK jazz dance development and the music development. And the music development is still white business, black music. We're the least to be in it. 99.9% of the individuals who dominate the scene are Anglo-Saxon males, and they have the goal to talk about African diaspora dancing being macho. We've taught so many females, and even in our time, I could even come into that umbrella when they start saying we're macho. Macho what? I had a million women that danced. I danced with a lot of females, and females taught me. So I cannot come under that umbrella. Anyway, that's another story. Blue UK Jazz Dance. just giving you reflection, just giving you little vibes. You know, I'm coming back with my jazzy days, 1960, because I was born in 1964. You know what I mean? I'm coming with yes, we can. Yeah, we can be a voice of grassroots fashion, because what happened, we changed fashion in this country. Who did it first? Our parents. The mods, they all came from our parents. Rockers. People didn't look after their attire in this country. They didn't know what cool was, except the rich. The mainly grassroots people didn't have nothing called cool. They didn't have cool in the music, whatever. They had to copy everything we did. So when blues music came, the way we played music, they had to learn it from someone. Who did they learn it from? They learned it from African diaspora people. When they wanted to learn jazz, boom, they learned it for us, because that was the coolest music on the planet. Then we go down, boom. Identify here with my son. I taught my son, and this is me. Look, black is beautiful. And that's what I was really reflecting. Boom, this is me when I returned back from university, by the way. Boom, I came back and then I hooked up with the old drumming partners to go and do some work. We're doing some charity work here, and there's me getting really back into it, back into my UK jazz. That's me back on stage. So that's part of the rebirth of the call. I came back to stage with a refined version of all my styles: my soul jazz, my bebop, soft shoe shuffle, bum bum, my jazz house,